Hello, bright suns, and welcome to the audio guide to Galaxy's Edge in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, Florida, and Disneyland in Anaheim, California. My name is Dan Zehr. I am the host and brand director of Coffee With Kenobi, an official blogger for StarWars.com, and the co-author of the Star Wars book, the Star Wars Character Encyclopedia Updated and Expanded Edition, and Star Wars, I Am Your Father. In this audio guide, I'm going to take you with me around the expansive Star Wars themed land at the Disney theme parks on both coasts. I will take you behind the scenes of Galaxy's Edge, point out details you might not have noticed, show how different parts of this land add to and enhance the mythology of the Star Wars saga, the differences between the Hollywood Studios and Disneyland versions, and let you in on a few secrets as well. You can use this guide at home to prepare you for your first visit to Batuu or enhance your experience as a seasoned veteran. In addition, you can bring this audio guide with you and explore Galaxy's Edge with me as I walk you through this immersive, one-of-a-kind Star Wars destination and experience. I hope this audio guide will bolster your enjoyment of Galaxy's Edge, make you feel like you are a part of the magic, and continue to foster your love of this galaxy far, far away and the wonderful story that is the Star Wars saga. Galaxy's Edge opened in Disneyland first on May 31st, 2019, and in Disney's Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World on August 29th, 2019. But this revolutionary concept did not happen overnight. October of 2012 was when we first heard the news that Disney would purchase Lucasfilm for $4 billion. With Disney's staggering track record in cinema, television, merchandising, and the theme parks, the possibilities were endless. This was realized in an unprecedented fashion on August 15th, 2015 at the D23 Expo, when Walt Disney Company's former CEO Bob Iger announced, "I am thrilled to announce the next chapter in the long and exciting history between Disney parks and Star Wars. We're creating a jaw-dropping new world that represents our largest single-themed land expansion ever." Walt Disney Parks and Resorts Chairman Bob Chapek, who took over as CEO on February 25th, 2020, and Walt Disney Imagineering Portfolio Creative Executive Scott Trowbridge announced details about the massive land. Chapek explained it would be a 14-acre land on both coasts, the largest land in Disney theme park history, and home to a planet located on the outer rim that would bring Star Wars stories to life for guests, allowing them to be part of their own Star Wars story. Plus, guests will be able to fly the Millennium Falcon for an all-new mission. Another attraction was also promised, which would put guests in the middle of a climactic battle, and we could find out what blue milk tastes like. 2 years later, at the D23 Expo in July of 2017, Chapek formally announced the name for the Star Wars themed land, Galaxy's Edge. At the Star Tours The Last Jedi media event in the fall of that year, it was announced that the planet would be called Batuu. The press release shared, this remote outpost on the Galaxy's Edge was once a busy crossroads along the old, early hyperspace trade routes, but its prominence was bypassed with advances in lightspeed travel. Now home to those who prefer to stay out of the mainstream, it has become a thriving port for smugglers, rogue traders, and adventurers traveling between the frontier and uncharted space. It's also a convenient safe haven for those intent on avoiding the expanding reach of the First Order. While Batuu may be new to us, it is clearly already familiar to many characters from the Star Wars saga as a launching point for epic adventures. Then, in May of 2018, we had a name for this area, Black Spire Outpost, which was revealed at Disney's Hollywood Studios Star Wars Galactic Nights presentation at the Epic Theater, where the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is located. Story editor Margaret Carrison and Scott Trowbridge wrote on the Disney Parks blog. The largest settlement on the planet Batuu, Black Spire Outpost is an infamous stop for traders, adventurers, and smugglers traveling around the Outer Rim and wild space. Off the beaten path, this outpost has become a haven for the galaxy's most colorful and notorious characters. Widely known for the petrified remains of its once towering ancient trees, the spires now stand guard across the river valleys and plains, and have long captured the imagination of travelers to this planet. To the first settlers, these petrified spires became more than just landmarks. They became the heart of the outpost itself. The look of the spires themselves was inspired by the petrified forests in Arizona, end quote. Speaking of the design, there's an overall difference in coloration in both parks. Disneyland has more natural tan tones, whereas in Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, Galaxy's Edge is a darker, reddish color to account for the harsher sun and more consistent precipitation of Orlando. The colors are more saturated and vibrant, so land can pop even with a gray sky, which is certainly much more common at Walt Disney World, especially in late May to mid-October, which is typically Florida's wet season. Galaxy's Edge is set between the events of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, which is a one-year space in the story itself. As with many great Star Wars stories, we can explore a brand new future, but embrace and experience the tales from the past. At Galaxy's Edge, a guest gets to be the hero or protagonist of their individual story. Just like Luke Skywalker, his father Anakin, or Rey, a previously unknown hero gets to make a difference in the world in previously unexplored ways. This is certainly felt as you journey through Galaxy's Edge. While the land is certainly immersive, which is critical to the concept, so you can live your Star Wars story, it is also groundbreaking in that there are no traditional signs and labels of where the next gift shop, attraction, or place to eat is. Scott Trowbridge explains in The Art of Galaxy's Edge by Amy Radcliffe, quote, "It is intended to be a place that is explored. It is intended to be a place where you can make discoveries and where you can feel there is still yet more to be discovered," end quote. The team drew inspiration from iconic Star Wars artists Ralph McQuarrie and Joe Johnston, who was responsible for the look of Boba Fett, and turned to Lucasfilm Vice President and Executive Creative Director Doug Chiang to help give it that Star Wars feel. All three visionaries are instrumental to the look of Star Wars on screen, so it was a natural fit. At the beginning of this audio tour, I use the expression bright suns, which you may have heard as you roam around the park. This means hello on Batuu during the daytime and is part of some specific lingo for the Batuuians, the name for inhabitants of the planet Batuu, created by Lucasfilm and Disney to reflect colloquialisms in the story you are a part of in Galaxy's Edge. Guests and cast members are encouraged to exchange and banter with one another with these sayings. For example, bright suns, hello in the daytime. Rising moons, hello at nighttime. May your deals go well, meaning good luck. May the spires keep you, and till the spire, meaning farewell. Well bartered, meaning thank you. And you, meaning you're welcome. Only the ancients know means I don't know. And thank the skies, meaning thank goodness. When you are interacting with cast members, feel free to use some or all these phrases to become part of the experience. As we make our way through the main entrance, let's talk about a major difference between Galaxy's Edge on both coasts. Disneyland has 3 entrances, while Hollywood Studios has 2. Let's walk through the main entrance in both parks first. But first we have to get there. In Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge is located in the northwest corner of the park. All 3 of its entrances are on the other side of Disneyland's railroad. They are Critter Country, Frontierland, and a path on the edge of Fantasyland where it meets Frontierland. Let's focus on Disneyland's main entrance into Galaxy's Edge, Critter Country. This is the farthest entrance to the west of the park. The other 2 entrances are closer to the center of Disneyland. This is the longest route, since you'll need to make your way around Disneyland's Rivers of America. This is also near the direct entrance to the Rise of the Resistance on either coast. You'll cross under a dark brown bridge in Critter Country and find yourself at a crossroads where there are 2 paths. The center has narrow landscaping with some piping and trees, but it's a small circle, and both ways lead to the same place. In Disney's Hollywood Studios, you enter through a massive tunnel you can't miss as you're walking down Grand Avenue after you pass Muppet Vision 3D. This is approximately the same spot as the Critter Country entrance at Disneyland, and will also lead you into the Resistance Forest. Hollywood Studios' entrance is much more grandiose than in Disneyland, as is evident by the massive tunnel ahead. Since Grand Avenue is themed to present-day Los Angeles, you travel through a street tunnel inspired by a real tunnel in LA, the Figueroa. The Figueroa is a series of 4 tunnels that opened in 1931. Disney Imagineers used this architecture to lead you onto the planet Batuu. On top of the tunnel, there's the Los Angeles coat of arms, just like what's on the original tunnel. The tunnel is complete with subway tiles, like you would see in a real subway tunnel, and halfway through, rocks start to break through the surface and you are transported to the Resistance Forest. The tile is dark space gray in Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios and much more light gray in Disneyland. As you look down, there's a clear geographic dividing line as the pavement transitions into a brown surface that looks weathered and worn, with tracks of droids, beasts, and more. Once you go under the archway or bridge, you are fully immersed in the world of Star Wars and are on the planet Batuu. The path is called Savvy's Path. In Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, it is much wider. Disneyland is a larger path, but it's not as wide. There's much more seating, and it's much more spread out at Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios. The benches look like large cargo containers from the Star Wars mythology, and the streetlights are somewhat camouflaged with the rest of the foliage and greenery. It all feels like you're on a planet somewhere in the Star Wars universe. And this effect is enhanced because once you enter the land, there's no evidence that you're in a Disney theme park. As you look above you, around you, and to the horizon, you will not notice any other attractions or lands, hear any Disney music from anywhere else, or any other indicators. The immersion is breathtaking, as is the attraction on your left, Rise of the Resistance. In Disneyland, there are 2 gonk droids directly in front of the Rise of the Resistance entrance. At Hollywood Studios, there is just one. At first, you may not be initially aware that you're in front of one of the most unique, awe-inspiring attractions in the history of the Disney theme parks. It's also one of the most complex and advanced attractions ever built. But what is it? Without spoiling anything, this is a 4-ride system unlike anything ever conceived or built, using motion simulators, a trackless ride system, walkthrough, audio animatronics, projection mapping, and so much more. Without any hyperbole of any kind, I truly believe this experience, and it is an experience, will make you feel like you are actually in a Star Wars movie. This is the ultimate collaboration between Disney Imagineering and Industrial Light and Magic, who created the CGI sequences for the attraction. At the D23 Expo in 2015, we learned about this attraction that guest star, quote, being placed in the middle of a climactic battle between the First Order and the Resistance, end quote. But it wasn't until November 17th, 2018 at a Destination D event that it would be called Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Film actors Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, Oscar Isaac, who plays Poe Dameron, John Boyega, who plays Finn, Adam Driver, who's Kylo Ren, Domhnall Gleeson, who plays General Hux, and Kipsang Rotich, the voice of Nine Numb, reprised their roles in the attraction, which was filmed during shooting for The Rise of Skywalker. There are other members of the Star Wars family involved too. James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars, provides the voice of Lieutenant Beck. The Mon Calamari who pilots the cargo vessel TR-141 you first board in Rise of the Resistance. If Lieutenant Beck looks familiar, that could be because he is the same species as another Mon Calamari from Return of the Jedi, Admiral Akbar. Because of the intricate nature of Rise of the Resistance, it did not open when Galaxy's Edge debuted on either coast. It opened first in Walt Disney World on December 5th, 2019, and Disneyland on January 17th, 2020. The experience from beginning to end is between 18 and 28 minutes in length, depending on boarding speed. Features 65 audio animatronic figures, required the largest concrete pour in the history of Disney parks, and uses more than 5 million lines of code to control and ride the elements throughout. Kids need to be 40 inches tall to ride, which will be good news for many families. Without spoiling anything about the entire experience, you go through ancient caverns on Batuu. You should take on a mission for General Leia and the Resistance, but of course, don't be surprised if things don't go as planned. As you enter the queue, be on the lookout for markings from ancient civilizations, weapons, charts, helmets, and other equipment reminiscent of Hoth, the snowy planet at the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back, the moon of Yavin, the rebel base at the end of the original Star Wars, Dakar from The Force Awakens as well. You'll board an intersystem transport ship, ITS, which is a cargo vessel identified as TR-141, en route to the planet Bakara. The starship is piloted by Nine Numb and Lieutenant Beck, the Mon Calamari I mentioned a few moments ago, as you all collectively hope to avoid the First Order. There is truly nothing like Rise of the Resistance in any theme park on the planet. So here's the big question: how do you ride Rise of the Resistance? When this first opened, there were no fast passes and no traditional standby line existed, largely because this attraction was so popular that in order to give everyone an equal chance to go on it, you had to do something different. So in order to do so, you need to download the My Disney Experience app for Walt Disney World or the Disneyland app if you're going to Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, so you can sign up to ride the Rise of the Resistance virtual queue. In the original time of the creation of this attraction in Hollywood Studios, the times are at 7 a.m. and 1 o'clock p.m., and you had to have a valid admission ticket and reservation to Hollywood Studios to be eligible. You also had to make sure to update your family and friends list on the My Disney Experience app to ensure all your reservations are connected. The challenge, however, was that almost everyone at Walt Disney World going to Galaxy's Edge was trying to do the exact same thing at the same time as you were. On the plus side, as long as you had everything set up, as I just mentioned, you could have tried to reserve your spot in the queue from your resort or your hotel. If you couldn't meet the 7 o'clock one, you had to try and book a spot at 1 o'clock p.m., and you had to be inside Disney's Hollywood Studios. You were only allowed one boarding group a day at a time, so if the force was with you in the morning, you were not eligible in the afternoon. In the same vein, if you missed out in the morning, you could try again around lunchtime. Further complicating things, in the original iteration of the attraction, the morning queue sold out in as quickly as 7 to 9 seconds. I used to recommend getting on the app a few minutes before 7 a.m. and beginning to tap the Join Virtual Queue button repeatedly and continuing to hit refresh until 7 a.m. rolled around. When it was open, you would click Join, make sure your entire party was selected, and click Join again. If you were selected, you would see an animated image of an astromech droid that tells you astromech droid deployed. You're then assigned a specific boarding queue, as well as an estimated time of when you and your group should go to the Rise of the Resistance entrance. For the afternoon opportunities in regards to using the park Wi-Fi versus using only the data on a cellular device, it really depended on who you would ask. The park Wi-Fi was very good, but certain spots, particularly in Galaxy's Edge in front of Rise of the Resistance, got much more traffic, especially closer to 1 o'clock p.m. One spot I used to tell people to consider was if you use the park's free Wi-Fi, you would go to the animation courtyard in front of Playhouse Disney. But for the afternoon sessions, you need to be in Hollywood Studios, could be anywhere in the park to be eligible. In Disneyland, the process was almost identical. However, the times in Disneyland were 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. For the morning reservations, you had to have a valid admission and Disneyland theme park reservation for that day, but did not need to be physically in the park. For the afternoon virtual queue, you had to be scanned at either Disneyland or Disney's California Adventure to be eligible. Disneyland has multiple virtual queues since Avengers Campus opened. If you're signing up for the Rise of Resistance, make sure that you're doing that, and we're not signing up for Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure. However, they are both amazing, and more good news, you could ride one attraction during the day and one in the afternoon, which was a nice feature. In other words, you could go on Rise of the Resistance in the morning and Web Slingers, a Spider-Man attraction, in the afternoon. However, you can only do both of them once a day. The really good news as far as all this goes is that now you are done with your history lesson and we can apply what is actually going on in the theme parks today. As of the time of this recording of this Star Wars Galaxy's Edge audio tour done here on Coffee with Kenobi, you can get a Lightning Lane Pass in the morning on the Genie Plus feature of the My Disney Experience app, which roughly breaks down to about $15 per person a day, and that allows you to get what is in essence, while they call it the Lightning Lane, it's basically the new iteration of the Fast Pass. Be sure to go to MEI and Mouse Fan Travel for more details on that, or the Disney Parks blog. So you can either get a Lightning Lane Pass for Rise of Resistance or stand in the traditional queue, and depending on the crowds and the attraction itself, you may be waiting for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2.5 hours, again depending on the traffic at either of the theme parks. However, I can tell you, it is absolutely worth every second of your wait. Please be aware that although Rise of the Resistance is a technical marvel, it may break down due to the complex inner workings of the technology. If I were you, I would go to the attraction entrance as soon as you enter Disney's Hollywood Studios or Disneyland to give yourself the best possible position and opportunity to experience and ride Rise of the Resistance. After you've gone on Rise of the Resistance and you depart your ride vehicle and head back onto Savvy's Path, you'll pass two small carts known as the Resistance Supply. The shopping area is much smaller in Disneyland, but neither is very big. Here's where you may find authentic X-Wing pilot costumes of various sizes, as well as in-world merchandise focusing on the Resistance. You'll notice right away that the items here, as well as throughout Galaxy's Edge, are pieces of Star Wars merchandise that you wouldn't see anywhere else. All of these things available for purchase should feel like a character in the mythology of Star Wars might have access to them. That is why you won't find traditional t-shirts, hats, and toys anywhere in Galaxy's Edge. However, the exclusive items all around Batuu have a collectivity and charm all of their own. With your back to the Resistance Supply, your eyes can't help but be drawn to two iconic starships, an X-Wing and an A-Wing. In Disneyland, the X-Wing is to the left of the A-Wing on the exact same side. In Disney's Hollywood Studios, the X-Wing is completely on the opposite side of the A-Wing, with a wide path leading to the rest of Galaxy's Edge separating them. The X-Wing in Hollywood Studios was actually used in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, Episode 6, The Prisoner, which was released on December 13, 2019. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau borrowed the completed X-Wing before it was installed in Florida for the final scene, in which Dave Filoni's character, Trapper Wolf, is flying an X-Wing alongside 2 other Resistance pilots. After filming, the ship arrived at its permanent destination in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Looking back to the Resistance supply, you'll notice a geological marvel that is a signature site in Galaxy's Edge, the Spires. The areas behind these ships are known as the Ancient Ruins. In the novel Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire by Delilah Dawson, Resistance spy Vi Maradi is sent by General Leia Organa to recruit sympathizers and set up a secret base for the Resistance. You might see Vi sneaking around Batuu as she tries to evade the First Order and convince the Batuians to side with her and the Resistance. She is instantly recognizable with her red Resistance jacket and blue hair. When you see Stormtroopers and Kylo Ren interrogating guests around Batuu, it's because they are looking for her, Rey, and Chewbacca. As you walk past the Resistance starships, you are now heading towards the market at Black Spire Outpost. In both parks, it's a brief walk, but in Hollywood Studios, the path is much wider and features 2 paths separated by landscaping, but both go to the exact same spot. This is here to divide up the traffic, where guests will organically split up before heading near the marketplace entrance. In Disneyland, the walkway is a bit shorter and has just 1 path. Once you get to the end of the walkway, you veer slightly to the left in Disneyland and have a direct path into the market. In Hollywood Studios, you will take a sharp left to walk towards the entrance, which is much more off the beaten path than in Disneyland. On both coasts, before you head through the archway and into the marketplace shops, you will see a large black door back just a bit into the left. According to Star Wars lore, this is an area where the Resistance has tunneled into the rocks and caverns to form their underground base. From an engineering perspective, this is a place for cast members to enter and exit. The door is farther away and much larger than in Hollywood Studios than in Disneyland, which is significantly smaller. But wherever you are, it's an impressive sight that adds to the world building of this unique place. Looking straight ahead is the main entrance to the market at Black Spire Outpost. The entire marketplace building in Disney's Hollywood Studios is darker, more brown and orange. In Disneyland, it is more light or tan, almost sandstone. The Walt Disney Imagineers took great inspiration from places like Marrakesh, Morocco, and Istanbul, Turkey for this commercial corridor, and it shows in its details, space, fixtures, and architecture. This area was designed in tandem with the 2016 film Rogue One, so the same architectural styles were referenced. In fact, the set of Jeddah City in Rogue One was visited several times by the Imagineering team for inspiration. In Amy Ratcliffe's The Art of Galaxy's Edge, she quotes Doug Chiang, who was once told by George Lucas in regards to designing the look of Star Wars, quote, "Make sure you make it look eclectic. Don't make it look like it was carefully art-directed, like somebody went in there and dressed everything to perfection, because that's not real life," end quote. Adding to the realism of the marketplace, cable boxes and rigging are purposefully chaotic to make you feel like lights are constantly rewired in-world to make them work, continuing to cultivate the immersive environment on Batuu. As you walk through the massive archway and look up, you see the unique lighting options just mentioned, as well as the hanging tapestries that provide protection from the sun, as well as add to the ambiance. Straight ahead is a small sitting area known as the resting place. The resting place in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios is much smaller and features a pointed black stone structure on top of a light brown circular area where families can enjoy a break from the heat. The structure in Disneyland is significantly larger, one of the few things bigger in Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. It is a massive brown stone with a lot more seating and features a huge circular dome across the top. According to the lore of Galaxy's Edge, the resting place is full of symbolism and tradition. Imagineering managing story editor Margaret Carrison is quoted in Amy Ratcliffe's The Art of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, quote, "This obelisk is hugely welcoming to a lot of our travelers and off-worlders. You got here, you've arrived, and this obelisk affirms that and welcomes you. If you touch it and say 'Till the Spire,' then it gives you good luck so that you may return in good health to this place again." The assumption is that this is going to be one of your next favorite places, another place you're going to do everything in your power to come back to, and we send you off with good wishes to be able to do that, end quote. Ratcliffe also shares that Carrison connects the idea to the real tradition of touching a horseshoe when entering a home for good luck. If you're hoping to see a Dianoga, you won't need good luck. You'll just need to be thirsty. As you turn to your left, you'll see 2 drinking fountains and a place to refill your water bottle. But on the right side is where, if you push the button to get a drink of water, you hear the rumblings of a Dianoga as it swims through the pipes and pops its head out of the water to take a peek at you. If this creature looks familiar, it's because you first saw one in the trash compactor in Star Wars: A New Hope. This is a tentacled aquatic monster that pops up from below before submerging and then briefly pulling Luke under the water. It's a great feature and one of the many unique ways to encounter creatures from the Star Wars universe around Galaxy's Edge. These water tanks are also different colors on both coasts, with the one in Disneyland being more of a reddish color. To the right of the Dianoga drinking fountain is one of 2 bathrooms found in Galaxy's Edge. The paint color by the bathroom, or refresher as they are called in Star Wars, is darker at Disney's Hollywood Studios, almost more of a brick red, whereas in Disneyland it is more of a tan. The bathrooms also have a unique design inside, as you will see when you go inside. As you walk out of the refresher and go straight, with the resting place on your left and the marketplace entrance on your right, you will notice a carver's station on the right when entering under the grand archway. This booth belongs to a gifted Wookiee woodcutter named Lunica. This place is known as the Wooden Wookiee. In Delilah Dawson's novel Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire, Arkex, a resistance agent and sympathizer who was formerly a part of the First Order when he was a stormtrooper named Cardinal, disguises himself as an artisan who bides his spare time whittling wood and carving elaborate sculptures, some of which are on display in this market. Cardinal was first introduced in Dawson's novel Phasma, as was Vi Marathi, mentioned earlier. This booth features elaborate, ornate wood carvings of porgs, lothcats, Wookiees, the Jedi logo, and many more iconic images from the Star Wars galaxy. What you see depends on what coast you are currently on. This booth is not typically attended by cast members, but is part of the atmosphere in the marketplace. With your back to the Wooden Wookiee is another small station that typically features merchandise you can find throughout the marketplace. This is a great opportunity for a hands-on experience with some unique items that are nearby for purchase, with cast members at the ready to hand off a quacking monkey lizard, teach you how to play sabacc, or countless other opportunities, depending on what is going on in Batuu that day. In between the 2 stations to your right is one of 4 separate entrances/exits from the marketplace. Both this one and the one past all the shops lead to a wide path that will take you to Black Spire Station and the Droid Depot, but we will get to those destinations later in the tour. For now, let's head past the 2 small stations and leave them on our right as we head back to the resting place, but turn towards the shops themselves. With your back to the resting place, you're ready to select one of any 4 unique shopping opportunities. As you approach the first shop on the left, the Toydarian Toy Maker, be sure to look at the 3 scaled-down vehicles mounted on the left-hand side of the wall. There is a blue speeder reminiscent of a vehicle from Solo, A Star Wars Story on the bottom, with a red vehicle on top that appears to be a combination of several vehicles, which keeps with the theme that there is a lot of scavenging and craftsmanship on Batuu. The green bike in the middle, in Disney's Hollywood Studios, features an Easter egg that is sure to please longtime fans of the theme park. This bike is built from parts of the Lights Motor Action Extreme Stunt Show. There is Aurebesh writing towards the front in white, which translates to LMA. Now let's explore all the specific shops here in the marketplace. For the purposes of this walking tour, we will start on the left and move clockwise to each of the shops. First is the Toydarian Toy Maker. The character Zabaka owns a Toydarian Toy Maker. Designers asked, quote, "What would toys in the Star Wars galaxy look like?" End quote. You won't find anything that would actually be on the planet Earth per se. Toys should look handcrafted, adopt creatures to take home, or try on attire inspired by Jedi and Sith legends. The next shop is Black Spire Outfitters. Arda Klydum, a Twi'lek, runs the shop and has a sewing droid named GX8. Style harkens back to the days before the Galactic Civil War. They are not distracted by the current fashions. Then we have Jewels of Bith. Proprietor Camera Lyra is a seasoned traveler bringing back items from far-off planets. This is where you will find things that say Batuu on them, or have examples of the Millennium Falcon or other iconic images or geographical locations that you'll see on Black Spire itself. Remember, you're not going to see anything here that has the word Star Wars on it, but this is where you can find things that say Black Spire Outpost. There are keychains, coffee mugs, jackets, t-shirts, hats, and other unique collectible items. Finally is the creature stall. The proprietor is named Bina. She's an Amani from Utapau. Here you will find puffer pigs, loth cats, tauntauns, wampas, dewbacks, and various other creatures from the Star Wars universe, not only in the movies, but also in Star Wars Rebels and sometimes Star Wars The Clone Wars. Feast your eyes on all the great collectibles, and many of the plush you will find here are interactive with noises or effects that they will do when you squeeze their bellies. Plus, they're soft and cuddly, and they are sure to please many, many fans of all ages. Plus, look in the middle of the creature stall where you will see a live-action animatronic Lothcat, introduced first in Star Wars Rebels, but also seen in other shows, particularly Star Wars The Mandalorian. If you listen closely, you will hear the Lothcat snoring away, breathing softly, not distracted by the environment or the guests in the marketplace. If you look at the Lothcat's bowl, you will see an example of a treat you can get nearby called Kat Saka's Kettle. Let's go back there and take a look. You hear that steam of the pod race engines, which we will talk about here in a few moments, but this is the Black Spire Outpost Market, and there are two food options for you. You have Ronto Roasters and Katsaka's Kettle. Katsaka's Kettle is the place I just mentioned, which offers Outpost Mix, which is a unique popcorn snack with a colorful blend of sweet and spicy flavors. Individually, the purple tastes a lot like Fruity Pebbles or Fruit Loops, and then the red one is much spicier. I will say the very best combination of them is eating them at the exact same time. You can also get Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and Sprite in the familiar small thermal detonator style container, which used to originally, when Galaxy's Edge opened, cause problems in TSA, but now, fortunately, TSA understands this is just a unique way to enjoy a Coca-Cola at Galaxy's Edge. Leaving Ronto Roasters and turning left, you will see the barbecue pit with a large pod racing engine. There is a former settler droid, 8DJ8, carefully turning the spit of meats, which will be served throughout Galaxy's Edge. Ronto Roasters features the very popular Ronto Wrap, which is a roasted pork and grilled sausage with peppercorn sauce and tangy slaw wrapped in pita. In the mornings, there is also a wonderful breakfast option. You can also get a Nuna turkey jerky with a choice of sweet or spicy. There are a number of specialty beverages here as well, including Tatooine Sunset, which is a Gold Peak unsweetened tea, Sour Sarlacc, which is Minute Maid Limeade, raspberry and spicy mango, or a Mailaroon juice, which is pineapple, simply lemonade with blueberry, white cranberry juice, lemon juice, and desert pear. All of the food in Galaxy's Edge is supposed to have a farm-to-table feel. As you turn and leave this area and walk past the pod race engine, you will see an opening. Turning to your left is the entrance to Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. In the story, the guest chef is Strono Cookie Tuggs, familiar because he worked for Maz Kanata on Takodana until it was destroyed by the First Order in The Force Awakens. On the outside of Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo, the side of the wall at Docking Bay 7 in Disneyland has hidden Mickeys via blaster fire. These are not present in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. The best option for you here is to go on the My Disney Experience app and make your selections for what you want to eat and drink at Docking Bay 7. Note that there are many options for people with allergies, as well as options for children and adults. Only Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios has two alcohol options: the Takodana Quencher, which is Bacardi Dragonberry Rum, Blue Caraco, and Simply Orange with Pineapple, as well as Kiwi. Plus, they have a Gold Squadron lager beer. One thing I should mention is if you look at the multi-purpose transport shuttle, which is located at the top of the building for Docking Bay 7, you will see 3 cargo containers with the numbers 77, 80, and 83 on each of them. Of course, longtime Star Wars fans know that 77 is the year that Star Wars A New Hope debuted in theaters, 1980 is when The Empire Strikes Back premiered, and 1983 is when Return of the Jedi came out in theaters across the country. The following piece of information I'm going to read to you is directly from the Disney Parks blog. A multi-purpose transport shuttle docked on top of a large hangar will beckon guests into Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo, a designated location for traveling food shuttles. Docked in the hangar is Tug's Grub, a traveling diner for diners traveling, run by Chef Strono Cookie Tuggs. In high demand for his cooking skills, he moves from site to site in a modified CWK utility transport that can be transformed into a mobile kitchen and restaurant. His travels across the galaxy allow him to fill his pantry with exotic ingredients, which he uses to make new and unusual dishes inspired by his time on Takodana. One quick tip for you as you go to pick up your food, you will notice before you go and turn around the corner to go into the entrance for Docking Bay 7, there's a nice seating area which is very quiet, and it is not shaded, but it is still a very nice place to eat. There are booths and tables and a lot of places to sit and relax as you enjoy your food. As you get your notification on your mobile app that your food is ready, you will show the host or hostess and walk inside Docking Bay 7. You will see decorative fruit in the Docking Bay entrance, which is only, by the way, at Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. Let's take a closer look at the menu options for Docking Bay 7. My personal favorite is the smoked Batuu ribs. This is a sticky pork ribs served with a blueberry corn muffin and cabbage slaw. The fried Endorian tip-yip is crispy chicken served with roasted vegetable potato mash and herb gravy, and it is also delicious. You can also get a Yob shrimp noodle salad, which is chilled shrimp served with marinated noodles and vegetables, roasted Endorian tip-yip salad. Tip-yip, by the way, means chicken in the world of Star Wars. There are a couple of salads as well, and some amazing desserts, including an Oi Oi Puff, which is a raspberry cream puff with passion fruit mousse, or a Batuu Bon, which is a chocolate cake with white chocolate mousse and coffee custard. The kids' meals include a Yob shrimp noodle salad, a taste of Takodana, which is black bean hummus served with edible soil with nuts, chilled dipping vegetables, and multigrain crisps, and fried Endorian tip-yip, which is the chicken I mentioned above, with amazing macaroni and cheese and seasonal vegetables. There are 3 specialty beverages without alcohol, including moof juice, Fado, and Batabucha tea. On the My Disney Experience app, you can see the ingredients and what is included in all of these food and drink options. This is also the place where the famous Galaxy's Edge spork is available for purchase. Unfortunately, when Galaxy's Edge first opened, a lot of these sporks mysteriously, shall we say, disappeared in the hands of some very excited guests. Disney realized the challenges there, but wanted to include the spork, so now it is available for purchase on the My Disney Experience app when you order your food. It's impossible at this point to go any further without mentioning the incredible display of what is in front of you as you leave Docking Bay 7. Invariably, you notice it as you walked into Docking Bay 7 because it was on your right, but I waited so you could let this moment take your breath away fully. Of course, I'm talking about the only 1/1 scale Millennium Falcon ever built, and here it is, friends, the Millennium Falcon. There are actually 2 ways to first discover the Millennium Falcon. You can come from the direction we came, or you can come from another direction, which we will talk about later in the audio tour. However, I think this is the best way to see the Millennium Falcon because as you are walking across the precipice and down the steps or over on the balcony on the left, you will see the Millennium Falcon the very first way Luke Skywalker did in Star Wars A New Hope. This is the direction I take people when they have never been to Galaxy's Edge. By the way, speaking of that balcony, it's a great place to get an amazing shot of the Millennium Falcon, and sometimes Disney photographers are there to help you out as well. The Millennium Falcon is the only 1/1 scale ever built. Only half-size ships or models were previously built. This ship is more than 100 feet long. It is the definitive Falcon. Lucasfilm has said that this will be the point of reference for them for close-ups, stories, and etc. from this point forward. Only Disneyland has fireworks that are visible in this area, and it is a sight to behold. Before we talk more about the Falcon, let's look at the spires. The spires here are much darker in Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, and more greenery is on the rocks too. When you're going through the windows in the queue for Smuggler's Run, when you're behind the Falcon, you can look to the horizon and see the Thunder Mountain Railroad spire at Disneyland. This area is known as the Spaceport. I will now read to you from Kristen Baver's article from StarWars.com about the Galaxy's Edge Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Quote, to make the ship that made the Kessel Run a reality in the galaxy, Kalama and his team created what Lucasfilm Vice President and Executive Creative Director Doug Chiang has dubbed the quintessential Millennium Falcon. Over the years, the ship has been realized on a number of different sets. There were many different iterations, Chiang explains. For the original trilogy, we had an 88-foot version. For our more recent films, they vary between 110 to 112 feet. We took all that information all those elements and distilled it down into the one iconic Millennium Falcon, both in scale and in detail, end quote. Quoting again from the article, quote, "The attraction, now open at Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World, is a never-before-seen fusion of video game technology, cinematic special effects, interactive responses, and a completely tactile and fully operational set of levers, buttons, and other controls that provide a uniquely satisfying ride." The article continues, "For an audience that had been dreaming of this moment for decades, it was important that the Falcon felt completely real. The team spent 3 years making sure that walking into the cockpit, it didn't feel like a toy. It felt like a real, honest spaceship." Executive Creative Director behind the Millennium Falcon, Asa Kalama, goes on to say, "We spent an incredible amount of time just playing with the feel of the buttons and the switches and the hyperspace handle to make sure it had that heft that made it all feel not like a simulation of being in a spaceship, but an authentic experience." The article continues, "Although the Falcon had been realized on film in several iterations, a full-scale version of the ship like the one now on display had never before been created. Designers combed through reference material and traveled to sets during the filming of the sequel trilogy to perfect the effect. Concept art helped reimagine a slightly upgraded cockpit with a few extra seats and pin down the right version of the stored ship for the era of the sequel trilogy." The queue itself is a thing of wonder. To get through the cockpit, there's a circuitous route through the Onaka Transportation Solutions building where you can find different engines in various states of disrepair and evidence of some stowaway porgs making a new home on Batuu. As mentioned earlier, the queue winds back around the ship with a beautiful panoramic view from multiple angles. End quote. Once you get to the ride itself, there is a pre-show done by a masterful piece of audio animatronics. This is Hondo Onaka. Hondo Onaka became popular in Star Wars: The Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels, where he took a turn and became much more of a hero, albeit an unconventional one. Hondo, by the way, has a special job for you. He and Chewbacca are working together, and again, since this story takes place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, it explains why the Falcon is where it's supposed to be. For the in-world version of how this all happened, be sure to check out the book Star Wars Pirate's Prize by Lou Andrew. Let's hear a little bit from Hondo Onaka's recruitment speech now.
Hello, my friends. I am Hondo Onaka, and this is Onaka Transport Solutions. Today, I am offering the opportunity of a lifetime. I need flight crews to transport this valuable merchandise across the galaxy. Pilots to navigate, engineers to operate the ship, and gunners to defend the shipments. And that is where you come in.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, Hondo. Yes, there are pilots, there are engineers, and there are people who control the guns. My suggestion, if you want to be a pilot, if you sit on the right-hand side, you'll be the person who gets to move the Millennium Falcon into lightspeed, which is certainly an absolute thrill. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm really excited. When you're inside the Falcon, you will again see the Dejarik table made famous in A New Hope. Look above there, you'll see a case containing a training remote and Luke Skywalker's helmet that he used to practice when he first started using the Force in the original Star Wars film. There are porg nests and a lot of other iconic moments. If you look around carefully, you can find where Han Solo and Leia first kissed in The Empire Strikes Back. But now it's time to go on the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and pilot this amazing hunk of junk we all know and love. This is how it works. When you walk in, you are split into boarding groups. There are 6 people to each boarding group, and each person is given a boarding card with the role that they can perform during the mission. Pilots enter first, gunners second, and engineers are third. Let's look at the individual jobs a little more closely. The pilot is probably the most difficult and the most rewarding. The left side controls the left and right movement of the Falcon, while the right side goes up and down. And, of course, as mentioned previously, the person on the right gets to put the Millennium Falcon into lightspeed. You get to do that twice. Going forward on the controls make the Falcon go down, pulling it back make the Falcon go up. The gunner is the most straightforward. Basically, you're just pushing the fire button, and Honda will tell you what buttons to push. In addition to that, things will light up when you're supposed to push them. You can do auto gunner if you want to just not play along and just hit buttons. You can choose between manual or automatic mode. Manual is much more complicated with multiple buttons involved. The last row of seats is the engineer. I find it to be probably the most rewarding of the roles because you have the least amount to do. I find it to be the most relaxing, and you have the best seat as well. As we exit the queue for Smuggler's Run, we head a new direction from the one we came before. Instead of turning right, to go up the steps, we're going to go left, and we're going to head towards Oga's Cantina. By the way, be sure to take one last look at the Millennium Falcon and take a couple of great pictures. You will see Disney photographers there, as well as other helping hands, happy to help you take this image of yourself in front of the Millennium Falcon. Oga's Cantina, besides Rise of the Resistance, may in fact be the most popular thing at Galaxy's Edge. Well, unless you're counting building your own lightsaber, but we'll get to that in a little bit. If you want to make a reservation for Oga's Cantina or anywhere else that you want to eat at Walt Disney World, you must go on the My Disney Experience app and make reservations well in advance. The earliest you can book a reservation for a restaurant or a place like Oga's Cantina is 60 days in advance, and I highly recommend you do that for Oga's Cantina. Even though there really isn't much to eat there, the drinks and the atmosphere are a very, very special part of the ambiance, flair, and flavor of Galaxy's Edge. And by the way, it's not just for adults. They have plenty of non-alcoholic options for children as well. It's an incredibly fun, celebratory environment, but if you have people or small children who are sensitive to really loud noises, you might want to skip this on your trip. The Cantina is famous because of Star Wars A New Hope, when Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker go into Mos Eisley Spaceport and meet Han Solo and Chewbacca. This Cantina is not that same one. However, the look and design was inspired by a Ralph McQuarrie sketch of Jabba's palace, which reminds many people of the Cantina from A New Hope. It was an early painting that didn't get used for Jabba's palace for Return of the Jedi, but the designers and Imagineers loved it so much. You may have noticed the arch that you passed under after you left the Millennium Falcon in Smuggler's Run. On the way to the Falcon, the arch in Disneyland is gray, whereas it is tan in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. For the lore of Galaxy's Edge, I'm going to read to you from the Disney Parks blog. Run by the boss of the Black Spire Outpost Underworld, Oga Gara, Oga's Cantina is an establishment that attracts some of the most interesting and disreputable characters in the galaxy. Very little is known about Oga herself. She's not usually at the Cantina, preferring to collect payments remotely, and most of the locals have never laid eyes on her before. Her patrons come from across the galaxy to sample the famous concoctions offered here. These beverages are created with unique ingredients using otherworldly methods. In addition, Oga regularly procures unique shipments of beers, ciders, and wines. End quote. In the novel Star Wars Galaxy's Edge by Delilah S. Dawson, you'll know all about Oga Gara, as well as Vi Marati, and see how she runs things at Black Spire Outpost, where her allegiances lie, and what you can expect from Oga herself. If you talk to the cast members about Oga, you'll get a wide variety of very interesting and unique responses. I highly encourage you not only in Oga's Cantina, but everyone in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to interact with the cast members as they are part of the story along with you. If you are familiar with the different alien species in the Star Wars mythology, Oga Gara is a Blutopian. If you've read the novel Thrawn Alliances, written by Timothy Zahn, then you may recall that Anakin Skywalker and later Darth Vader once visited Batuu and went directly to Oga's Cantina. A highlight in Oga's Cantina is the DJ. The DJ is DJ R3X, formerly RX-24, but you will recognize him as a beloved droid, Rex. Rex is the former Starspeeder 3000 pilot we first met in Star Tours. He has reinvented himself as the Cantina's resident DJ, and he's just as fun and quirky as ever. There may be a time or two during your stay at Oga's Cantina where DJ Rex seems to run out of batteries or just shut down. When this happens, the bartenders encourage you to clap, cheer, and celebrate the return of DJ Rex, who will come to life in a very entertaining fashion. Now let's talk about the drink options. There are plenty of alcoholic and non-alcoholic options for you and your family. There are some unique drinks you can only get in the mornings, but the majority of the popular ones are in the afternoons and the evenings. The most popular being the Fuzzy Tauntaun, a peach vodka, peach schnapps, orange juice with tangerine, a pure cane sugar, and a buzz foam. This foam is the famous drink that causes your lips to be numb while you're drinking. Not only is it delicious, but it's very unique. Another popular one is the Bespin Fizz, which comes out bubbling and popping just like you'd expect something from Bespin. If you recognize the name Bespin, that's because that is where Han Solo is frozen in carbonite, and this drink very much reflects this. It's a great opportunity to take out those phones and get some great pictures and video of this drink as it is presented to you. As we take care of our tab, we certainly don't want to upset Oga. We leave Oga's Cantina and turn to the left and head into the First Order Courtyard. This is a path on the edge of Fantasyland where it meets Frontierland in Disneyland. In Disneyland, this is also one of the 2 fastest ways to enter Galaxy's Edge. It is much more direct than the Critter Country entrance. This entrance is next to the Thai Echelon and leads directly into where the First Order is in charge. You can find the milk stand here, as well as the First Order cargo shop in this courtyard area. In the First Order cargo shop, you'll see things inspired by the First Order, including stormtroopers, different vehicles, toys, and other items that celebrate the First Order. Remember, when you are in Galaxy's Edge, you're a part of the Star Wars universe, and this side of Galaxy's Edge is taken over primarily by the First Order, and you can tell by the different colors of the garbage cans as well. The Thai Echelon is a heavily armored shuttle, unusually well armed for a ship its size. In the Galaxy's Edge comic books, as well as in the novel Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the Thai Echelon plays a heavy part in the story itself. It is here at the Thai Echelon where there is a stage where you can occasionally find the stormtroopers and Kylo Ren interacting with and talking with the guests. It's fun, it's funny, and sometimes a little frightening, but in the best way possible. If your back is to the First Order cargo entrance, to your very right you will see a large door. In Disneyland, this is just a door that leads backstage. But in Walt Disney World, this is where guests of the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the Halcyon, are able to disembark from their experiences on the cruise and experience all that Batuu has to offer for the day. Typically, that is the second day of your itinerary on the Galactic Star Cruiser. The Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is an incredible, immersive event that we won't talk about on this audio tour, but we've certainly talked about it a lot on Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to check out Coffee with Kenobi episodes 500, 501, and 502 for more on Star Wars, the Galactic Star Cruiser, and everything that incredible experience has to offer for guests. In the First Order courtyard, you will hear TIE fighters flying overhead as the First Order circles looking for Resistance spies. If your back is to the Thai Echelon, look to your left, you will find Bubo's Wamba milk stand. Bubo is an Aqualish who has brought blue milk from Banthas and green milk from Thalas Sirens. You may remember them from Star Wars The Last Jedi. There is actually an alcohol option if you're in Florida for this. The blue milk at Disney's Hollywood Studios has an alcohol option of Bacardi Superior Rum, and the green has Corazon Blanco Tequila. Both are very tasty, but you must be 21. Where in Disneyland, they do not have that option. However, they do have a unique swirl option. The green milk comes with a spicy concoction that is mixed together, and you can get blue milk with a very sweet concoction that is much more of a sour effect on your palate. My best advice, since most people are very much pro-team blue milk or pro-team green milk, is to select one of each and have your whole family sample them. Then you can make the ultimate Star Wars taste test. We are almost done with our tour, so let's take a quick break and we'll return with more of my Star Wars Galaxy's Edge audio tour. This is Coffee with Kenobi. While you're considering a trip to Walt Disney World or Disneyland to experience all that Galaxy's Edge has to offer, be sure to go to our official travel partner, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel for your place to go for a no-cost, no-obligation quote. You will have the best vacation possible and help out Coffee with Kenobi and me in the process. Now we will head from the First Order courtyard to the archway to the droid depot. This archway is if you are leaving the milk stand on your right and heading through the archway itself, which leads to the other bathrooms at Galaxy's Edge. This is the second place for a place to use the restroom. In the droid depot archway entrance, not only will you see the bathrooms on the left, but on the right you will see a variety of different astromechs and other droid units you'll recognize from the world of Star Wars, including an Imperial probe droid. It's a nice little quiet spot with some great opportunities for some unique picture options. There's also a drinking fountain here as well. As you walk through the archway and past the restrooms and the droids, you will find yourself with two options. To the left is the Frontierland entrance, which leads you directly to the Droid Depot area of the Black Spire Outpost. It is much more crammed in Disneyland than at Disney's Hollywood Studios. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, this leads to the Toy Story Land entrance. It is approximately the same place as Disneyland's Frontierland entrance, but it has much more room than its West Coast counterparts because in Disneyland, it had much less space to work with. It is much smaller and much more narrow here in Disneyland than at Hollywood Studios, as you walk under a small, rock bridge-like structure. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, at the entrance from Toy Story Land, there's a crash site for DJ Rex near the Droid Depot on the right-hand side as you're leaving Toy Story Land to enter into Galaxy's Edge. This crash site is not at Disneyland. There are 3 Gonk droids at Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, but only 2 in Disneyland. There are also different tables in the courtyard depending on which area of the country you are located. Now let's pretend that we have walked in from either Toy Story Land at Disney World or at Frontierland at Disneyland and head into the Droid Depot itself. The Droid Depot is where you can assemble a custom astromech unit. You will definitely want to go to DisneyWorld.com or Disneyland.com to reserve this before you arrive, because you may not get a chance to build this unique droid. You're going to pick from a BB series or an R series. If you pick a BB series, you will select from a dome connection plate, a body sphere, and a motivator. For an R series droid, you'll select from a dome, a body, a center leg, and a set of side legs. There are many different colors to choose from, and you can mix and match them to your heart's content. There are different cast members here to help you as you are building your droid. If you would like, when you are checking out before you build your droid, you can purchase a personality chip. These personality chips allow the different droids to interact with one another, but it is not essential to the function of your droid. I have several droids myself, and I've never purchased a personality chip, although I hear they're quite delightful. And at Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios, there are chip display samples, but you can only see them here. In the lore and mythology of Galaxy's Edge, Mubo is the owner and operator of the Droid Depot. He is a Yutai species, a 6th generation droid builder, and most of the droids in town have come through his shop. Mubo receives junk from scavengers who work for Savvy and Sons Salvage. There are many unique options for collectibles here, besides building a droid of your choosing. There are some wonderful picture opportunities in here as well. And when Galaxy's Edge first opened, this was the shop where you could purchase a life-size 1/1 scale astromech droid, although at the time of this recording, that option is not currently available. After you leave the Droid Depot and walk straight ahead, you will see an area with speeders. This is known as Black Spire Station. It's also Sadu Station. She's the best mechanic in Black Spire. Her story, along with her friend Ely, is in Amy Radcliffe's book, Ely and Me. This is also a place where you can see some unique shows for Galaxy's Edge, including Chewbacca and Rey, and there will also be stormtroopers looking around and asking you questions when you walk by if you know where the Resistance spies are located. It's a fun little place with some great photo options and opportunities as well. We turn from Black Spire Station and turn right. If you walk straight, it appears you're going to head towards Docking Bay 7 and towards the ramp that will lead you eventually to the Millennium Falcon. However, on the right-hand side, there's a place that is unmarked and has no particular signs of any kind, save for a little walkway. This is Savvy's Workshop. This is the place where you can build a hand-built lightsaber. As you walk in, there's a feeling of transformation. Plus, it's nondescript. You would not necessarily know that you are there because there are no signs. While the Savvy and Sons are out in the open, Savvy's Workshop is hidden in secret to avoid the First Order. The inspiration for this is from Rogue One. There is no active Jedi, but we learn from the Guardians of the Wills they are characters who are believers in the Force without being a Jedi. Pablo Hidalgo spoke about this with Amy Radcliffe in her The Art of Galaxy's Edge book. Between Disneyland and Walt Disney World, the courtyard in Disney World Hollywood Studios has umbrellas. Disneyland does not. As you're waiting for your turn to build a hand-built lightsaber, there is much less decoration in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios on the wishing tree. If your back is to the cash register, you look to the right. There's a tree with colorful pieces of fabric, each one representing the hopes and dreams of the locals. Local legends say once the fabric wears off, the wish is granted by the universe. For more on the wishing tree, be sure to go to Zoraida Cordova's book, A Crash of Fate. In the lore of Galaxy's Edge, the gatherers work here and collect all the pieces for Savvy's workshop itself. Now, let's talk about how you can make this happen. You have 60 days from the date of your arrival to book a reservation for Savvy's workshop. It sells out quickly. My best tip is to check when you are exactly 60 days out from your arrival on Batuu and get on the My Disney Experience app on Walt Disney World or the Disneyland app, and be sure to book your reservation right away from the official Disney blog. Travel to Blackspire Outpost, where a group known as the Gatherers ushers you into a covert workshop packed with unusual parts, whimsical pieces, and miscellaneous memorabilia collected from the far reaches of the galaxy. Under their guidance, you can construct your very own lightsaber and bring it to life through the power of kyber crystals. Builders beware. You must protect the shop's secrecy to avoid being discovered by the First Order. Once your lightsaber is complete, purchase required, you'll be ready to embark on incredible new adventures from the far reaches of wild space to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. End quote. Once you've booked your reservation and showed up to Savvy's workshop, there are 4 hilt themes that you will be asked to choose from. They are Peace and Justice, Power and Control, Elemental Nature, and Protection and Defense. Again, from the Disney Parks blog. Peace and Justice. Salvage scraps from fallen Jedi temples and crashed starships in these Republic-era designs honor the galaxy's former guardians. Power and Control. Originally forged by Darkside warriors, this style features rumored remnants from the Sith homeworld and abandoned temples. Elemental Nature. This theme embodies the Force, an energy created by all living things, like Brylark trees, Carthusian whale bones, and Rancor teeth. Finally, Protection and Defense. Hilt materials bear mysterious motifs and inscriptions that reconnect users with the ancient wellspring of the Force. It's an experience, it's a show, it's probably 14 to 20 minutes in length, and it includes music, sound effects, light, and I can promise you that you're going to feel like you're a part of the Star Wars universe, and when you get the reveal of turning on your lightsaber for the first time, there is nothing like it in the galaxy. I must confess, I did shed a tear of joy. You have the option to choose from 4 different lightsaber colors when you select your kyber crystal: red, blue, green, or purple. If you want to change your lightsaber color later, you can do so by purchasing a kyber crystal from Doc Ondars. As you exit Doc Ondars with your new lightsaber in hand, you will walk up a path of steps and find yourself in a little courtyard with some nice areas to sit and eat. You can also see these across the walkway as well. But when you turn right, you'll be heading back towards the Millennium Falcon and where it is docked. However, on the right-hand side is a very unique shop, Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. Let's take a look. Like many things at Galaxy's Edge, it can be very difficult to get into Doc Ondars. However, you don't need a reservation. You just need patience and willingness to wait in line. When it's extremely busy or there's a brand new Legacy lightsaber available, there are 2 lines. The one on the left is you will go up to a cast member and get a QR code where you will scan with your phone, and it will give you a text message when you can come back and wait in line to purchase a Legacy lightsaber. You're not allowed to browse the counter where the Legacy lightsabers are being sold and on display because the demand is so high that you have to wait in line. On the right hand side, if there is no line and you're lucky enough, you can just walk right into Doc Ondars. Doc Ondars offers many unique shopping options, including the Legacy lightsaber I just mentioned, kyber crystals, and both Sith and Jedi holocrons, plus other unique merchandise including costumes, books, statues, and things you won't believe or be able to find anywhere else. On the exterior of Doc Ondars, you'll see Nithorian gravestone. This is a marker for Doc's parents' grave. There's a painted statue of a Jedi priestess, which is the same design inside of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. In Disneyland, the Jedi statue faces straight. In Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, she faces the new entrance. And these little subtle differences are all over Galaxy's Edge on both coasts, as you have noticed through the audio tour. There is a footcloth near the statue only in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. Here is also where the actual Black Spire is for Black Spire Outpost. It was a wayfinding point for settlers. It's an iconic landmark where everything was built around it. It gives Batuu a Wild West sort of a feel. It is darker in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. As far as differences between Disneyland and Disney's Hollywood Studios, there's a darker hyperspace war coloring on the wall entrance. There is a hidden Mickey in Disneyland and a mural below the Jedi on the creature. It is not present in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. The lighting is much brighter in docks in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios. The Kyber crystals in Disneyland are not on display, but they are in Walt Disney World. Doc sometimes falls asleep in Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios, and you have to wake him up. In Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios, there's a dark brown background on the taxidermy wall. In Disneyland, it is light tan. In Disneyland, you can find the Ark of the Covenant, but it is not at Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios. It should be on the left of the Stormtrooper helmets and pilot helmets. Stand with your back to dock, and you can see the top of it at Disneyland. However, sometimes the Ark is appropriately missing. If you look above Anakin's robe on the second floor, you'll see the holocron, which is much bigger, which is first premiered at Celebration Chicago in 2019. For the Doc Ondar animatronic, it's a thing of beauty and something you should definitely go up and enjoy. Imagineering and creative director Eric Baker, who oversaw the props and set dressings for Galaxy's Edge, estimates that in Doc Ondars itself, he and a team have between 2,500 and 3,000 props. They change periodically, but you'll see things from a lot of your favorite movies, The Mandalorian, and so many other Star Wars stories. Be sure to look around and savor all there is to see inside Doc Ondars. From the Disney Parks blog, the galaxy's rarest treasures. Hidden inside the den, you'll encounter a rotating collection of unique items that include everything from jewelry to ancient tools to rare kyber crystals to statues and even a collection of famous lightsabers. The eclectic assortment of goods comes from many different planets and eras. You want to explore every nook and cranny of the shop. Who knows what priceless riches you'll uncover? How Doc Ondar acquired all of these treasures, no one knows. Some secrets are better off kept that way. Other secrets are better off kept for sale on the shelves of Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. There are also a number of creatures on display in Doc Ondars as well that you can look at, including a baby Sarlacc. The Sarlacc was found in the Book of Boba Fett, and more famously in Return of the Jedi, where Boba Fett was thought to have been lost for eternity. This particular baby Sarlacc was captured by Han Solo and Chewbacca in the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge comic book miniseries. It's pretty wonderful to look at it and see what is beneath the sand for the Sarlacc itself. The Jedi and Sith holocrons are unique, and if you purchase a Galaxy's Edge kyber crystal, you can put the different ones inside the different Jedi holocron or Sith holocron, and you'll get different noises and responses. If you put a Sith holocron in a Jedi holocron, or a Jedi kyber crystal in a Sith holocron, you'll get a surprise that you won't expect. Plus, if you combine your Jedi and Sith holocrons together, you'll get a special, unique message. Speaking of messages, the different kyber crystals, there are 4 different kinds of kyber crystals. In other words, there are 4 different shapes of blue, 4 of red, and so on and so forth. Each kyber crystal belongs to a certain Jedi. The only way to know which kyber crystal you have or what Jedi it belongs to is to put the kyber crystal into the appropriate Jedi or Sith holocron. It's a lot of fun, and it will drive collectors excited and crazy in the best way possible. Now, I know you've heard about the black kyber crystal. The only way to get a black kyber crystal is, frankly, to get lucky. They are located inside the red kyber crystal cases. You just have to buy a red kyber crystal and hope that you get a black one. It is worth noting that even if you do get a black kyber crystal, when you put it into your lightsaber, it will still light up red. As you make your way along the wall, don't forget to take a look at what you may have noticed when you walked into Doc Ondars in the first place. You will see the first piece of the collection, a sculpture showing the Jedi in a fierce battle against an alien race. It is a 4-piece stone mural on the wall that may look familiar to you, and that is because it It used to be hanging on the wall of Palpatine's office on Coruscant. Palpatine is, of course, Darth Sidious, the Emperor. Why did it break into 4 pieces, and how did it end up in Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities? That's a story that we have yet to find out about. But be sure to look at the details on the sculpture because they are really incredible, and maybe this is a great opportunity to use your imagination, talk with your family, and figure out what might be happening on the mural itself and how it could tie into the Star Wars saga. If the name Doc Ondar sounds familiar to you, it was first mentioned by Kira on Dryden Voss's yacht in Solo, A Star Wars Story. As mentioned earlier, he has been known to hire ambitious individuals like Han Solo, who helped find the baby Sarlacc, and Dr. Aphra, a popular character in the Star Wars comic books. Doc is more than 240 years old. He is feared and respected. Just don't cheat him, and you'll be okay. This, my friends, is where I will leave you to explore Galaxy's Edge now that you've seen every part of what this amazing 14-acre land has to offer to fans of Star Wars and the Disney theme parks, as well as new and exciting experiences. I want to thank each of you for joining me on this incredible labor of love. Galaxy's Edge is a wonderful place with so many amazing memories that are just waiting for you around every corner. If you want to learn more about Galaxy's Edge, be sure to check out the books I mentioned throughout the audio tour, as well as the Coffee with Kenobi podcast, where we cover Galaxy's Edge's opening at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. If you have any questions about Galaxy's Edge or want any tips, in addition to listening to this audio tour, please go to the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI and MouseFan Travel, at coffeewithkenobi.com/MouseFanTravel. They can answer all of your questions about Galaxy's Edge, give you the best suggestions for what to do, when to do it, and how to make your life as easy as possible. And best of all, you get a no-cost, no-obligation quote, get an amazing experience at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, and you can help out me and Coffee with Kenobi in the process. When you are booking, be sure to let your agent know that you worked with Dan Zehr and Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to contact me, Dan Z, at coffeewithkenobi.com, or reach out to me on Twitter at Mr. Zehr, MRZEHR, or of course, Coffee with Kenobi's social media places such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok. Thank you again for joining me on this very special podcast episode, the Galaxy's Edge audio tour. Be sure to share it with your friends who are going to Galaxy's Edge, whether it's their first time or they've been there several times. There's always so much more to learn and to know. Thank you again so much. Till the spire, my friends.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.